The low number of three-pointers, relatively low number of three-pointers. Looking back at tape, is there anything like specific common that these guys are kind of passing up that you want them to, or is it just individual situations?
Yeah, it's a little individual, and we just need to probably be a little more forceful. We didn't have a lot of pop roll life in the game. Part of that is a credit to. Part of that is attributable to how Lipscomb chose to guard us, and so our guys took advantage of that. But we didn't have it's a place where we'll continue to focus on this idea of really letting the ball do the work and find the open man. And I think we're going to understand that more and more as we move forward. But this number, of trying to get to 33s or 30 plus is important for us. It's a standard. We won't be able to get there every game because we're going to play the game with what we have in front of us. But as a metric, that's something we're striving for.
Is that something that takes some time to get used to, even though you guys have been preaching kind of this green light and this style all summer? It seems like Jackson is the one who's really the most comfortable doing it in the flow of the game, which would be understandable.
Yeah, and yes, it takes time for sure. It takes time to kind of digest that, and then every time you face a new opponent, you're seeing you're getting a new feel. There's a new physicality. There's a new scheme. There's a new game plan. There's a new way to approach this. It's one of the things that we found over the last couple of years is teams tend to go to the extreme a little bit to guard us. They kind of get out of character, and so you really never know what you're going to see. You don't see the normal defensive game plan that you see on film. Most teams playing against their other opponents, and so it's a process. Yeah, I think it is really exciting for us because we're quite a ways away from being able to understand and identify and execute on different ways that different approaches teams might take to guard us, and the game gets really fun as your guys start to internalize that. Like it's a beautiful growth process, and when we talk about the urgency of just not having that much time. That's one of the things that we feel is that we're so anxious to keep growing, where we get more and more comfortable with we see it, we identify it, we read it, we know how we want to attack it, and let's go, and to do that in real time. That's when the game gets really fun and beautiful.
I guess, Mark, following up on that, as your 9 combined seasons as a head coach at Utah Valley and BYU before this, what did you learn when opponents are throwing unique, maybe different defenses that you've seen on film because of the tempo, because of the three-point shooting? Is there something that you as a coach learned to try and combat that, or get your guys used to something maybe that they weren't expecting from an opponent? Yeah,
the game is always teaching you. That's the beautiful thing, right? If you'll listen, if you'll pay attention, the game is always teaching you. It's actually the best teacher. And so all of that is filtered into kind of the ways we try and execute, the ways we try and give our guys cues on what to pay attention to and how we're going to attack it, and coaches are really creative, and so they'll distort defenses in all kind of ways to try and have an impact on the game. So the more of those you see, the more little wrinkles you get to add, and it's fun. It's why it's so fun to play in great leagues with great coaches and great players, because it just challenges you to learn the game a little bit better.
Mark, for you guys, obviously as competitors, you love those big games, like a top 10 Duke game, but obviously you evaluate your team's performance after every game. What are the differences in that evaluation between a top 10 grade Duke game or a Lipscomb game? What are the differences, and how do you manage that?
Yeah, I think we're like a broken record guy. Sorry, but we feel so much pressure to get better, and so the evaluation is the same. It's how committed are we staying to our defensive principles, and how well are we able to execute them. I mean, I know that's just a bland answer, but it's the same old boring habits with us. Like, that's a real thing. It's every day. It's the same old boring habits, and just doing them better and better and better. It's It's how much we understanding each other and kind of how we attack on the offensive end. It's how committed are we to the glass. We were 77% on wedges, which is fine, but it's not great. Like we need to, there are those parts of the game that are just habits, right? It's a habit. It's a dedication to a habit, and us on the offensive glass, 77 is good. But it's not great, and somehow we have to develop very quickly this habit of, being a 90 or 95% team. If we do that, then we'll be in a category of one, right? And so just kind of inching our way as quickly as we can to that. So the evaluation is exactly the same. It's, right now it's important to win. It's important to play well. All those things are really important. Winning is everything, right? But it's also a sprint to see how quickly we can get better. How can we cement our same old boring habits at an elite level standard? How can we get more creative in how we attack? How we can understand each other more as players? It's kind of all we think about. And so evaluating the Duke game was exactly the same as evaluating Lipscomb, and it'll be the exact same as evaluating Jackson State. We got to get better.
Mark, Andrew kind of had a similar game to Jackson where he didn't shoot great, but he played great defense, led you guys in plus minus. With the way those two perform, does that come with just experience and kind of being able to shake it off, or is that like a personality thing you look for in recruiting with those guys?
You mean just to focus on?
Yeah, the ability to just block out the fact they didn't shoot well and still be able to play great defense and not let it affect them.
And again, I think it's winners. I think what's fun about the game is that you find all kind of different ways and pathways to winning. It makes it really fun. I think that makes it exciting. It makes it dynamic. It's a living thing. And definitely that's a huge part of us recruiting. Like, we want to recruit guys that win, that care about winning the most. Interesting enough, guys at the next level want to get players that care most about winning, because ultimately that's the goal. That's what we're trying to do, is win. And you use those two guys as examples, and both of them are winners, right? And you saw all of Jax's emotion and determination and energy that we talked about post game in the Duke game. And then with Andrew Carr, he's coming off a huge game, and he only got 5 shots just because of how the game flowed and what was happening, and he's still fully engaged in all his emotion and effort and determination. Had a great defensive game and had a really, really tough defensive assignment and performed great, and is our leading plus minus guy and loves it. And because at the end of the day, we get sidetracked by very narrowly positioned individual statistics that really are poor storytellers. They're incredibly poor storytellers, but as coaches and media members, as fans, we grab onto those because they're low-hanging fruit, but they're actually terrible descriptors of a guy's impact on the game. And our guys hopefully will buy into that more and more and start to evaluate their game not on the low-hanging fruit, super broad bad storytelling numbers that everyone else grabs onto, but on the ways that we evaluate the game. We have guys that are willing to do that. It's pretty cool.
Coach, with Ortega, was there anything so far that's surprised you in terms of his approach or personality, and then also his on-court game as well?
Yeah, Ortega's been unbelievable. I don't know if he's the headline guy of any game, but he is the best player in every game almost, kind of give or take, right? He gets us off to unbelievable starts. Man, he has a knack to start the game. It's been brilliant, actually. He has an impact. His conditioning's gotten better and better. He seems like he's not getting fatigued on the floor. He's understanding us better. He's making a defensive impact. He's one of those guys that's just like, yep, Ortega, go handle that and let me try and coach the other 4 defenders. When you have him on the floor and you have Lamont, then I really have to take care of 3 defenders, and then you put Amari out there. It's like I only have to worry about 2 guys. And the way Jax is playing, it's just it's just Andrew Carr's defensive assignment. He's been pretty good too, right? So Ortega's been incredible. I'm so proud of him. You know, he might not have been the most highly heralded guy coming in this portal class, but he's been beautiful with his teammates. He's been really mature about taking advantage of every opportunity he's given and earning them. He's grown immensely since the summer. He's becoming an every single day guy, which is a huge challenge, which might not have come instinctively to him, but he's really focusing on being an every single day guy, and he's been incredible actually. He's a real gift to have as a player.
How do you approach rotations? Do you have them scripted in advance, or do you primarily rely on instinct in the way the game is going?
Yeah, a lot of different ways. So we'll do a dummy, like a dummy schedule for games. We have a pretty decent outline of kind of rotations that we would start with, and that's based on a lot of things. It's based on our feel. It's based on how guys perform together, and we did a pretty intense study on guys' productivity from minute to 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 all the way through 10 minutes, just in terms of where do they usually reach their peak productivity. So we have some guys that actually get better from minute 1 to minute 8 or 9. Those guys are super challenging because you kind of got to leave them on the floor for 6 or 7 or 8 minutes before they get to their best output, which you'd rather have it, you know, be best output right away, but those are some feel guys, and so we've had specific conversation with those guys about, you know, trying to like bring their peak performance sooner and how they do that. We have some guys that you know, are such high energy guys that after 4 or 5 minutes they actually kind of fall off a little bit of cliff productivity wise. And so you take all of that information, right? How guys fit together, who plays well together, you know, where their peak productivity is, and kind of your rough draft of how you can see a game going, and take all that data, and then, you know, obviously in game, take into account foul situations and matchups and all those things, and come out with some type of genius rotation sometimes.
You just touched on what I was going to ask about. How is there a fine line between the analytics and the numbers to playing that gut feeling, and that guy's due, where this person would fit better there, and sometimes they might not?
Yeah, I mean, my analytics guys would say, stop messing with the gut feeling, man. Get rid of it. You just. But I'm not that smart to you know, devour all those numbers. So yes, it's both. It's all of it. It's just like everything we do in life. It's everything you guys do in life. I mean, you know, it's you know, as you guys are putting out stories, I would imagine, I'm not a professional, but as you're putting out stories, I would imagine that you're taking a bunch of data from what time you put it out and to receive the most attention, and what, you know, divisive headline you can put out there to kind of bring the most attention, which is everyone trying to do their job, and also, like, you know, what's your longevity, staying with the fan base, and you know, probably taking all those data points into account, and then you guys are artists, right? And so there's, you know, you're never going to be completely confined by the analytical data. You're going to have inspiration, which is what makes it beautiful, right? If we have no inspiration, then if we don't take chances, if we don't buck the trend of the numbers, then how do we actually find what the new creative numbers are? And so I think it's probably familiar to you and your work, and, you know, probably everybody in the world in their respective work. It's a combination.
Do you believe, some analytical people don't believe in momentum. Do you believe in momentum?
I'm a big believer in the dynamic nature of the game, for sure. And you know, one of the interesting things about analytics is and just numbers and just data in general is that it's getting you averages, and those averages matter. But in the course of a rotation or a game or a final minute of a game or anything like that, sometimes the numbers aren't that helpful, because you would like to you'd like to have some brilliant moments in that moment or in that game. You're not looking for the averages. Again, my analytics team would really get upset with me about this, but I like to, you know, I do think that we're dealing with beautiful, emotional human beings, and hopefully we have some native insights into that maybe we could be, the numbers could be negligent of not over the whole spectrum of time, but just in that specific moment. I think that's actually probably true.
What are you expecting out of Jackson State tomorrow, and is there anything in particular you're really wanting to see from your team in this one?
Yeah, this Jackson State team is playing really hard. I mean, they are competing. Last year they were one of the better teams in the country getting the free throw line. They have a 13 rebound advantage on the offensive glass through their first 5 games. They've been, traditionally they've been a really good forcing turnover team. They're playing with unbelievable energy. Mo's got the guys, like they're fighting and competing. They have some really terrific size. One of the biggest centers that we'll face all season long. They had a rookie step up last night and put up huge numbers. They've got a roster kind of built like that where on any given night somebody could step up and really be great. So we're expecting an incredibly competitive game. It's part of the Unity series, which we're super excited about, and we're going to get to honor the great Kenny Skywalker and the great Purvis Short, 2 unbelievable graduates from Jackson State and from Kentucky, who had great careers in their respective schools and went out and had incredible NBA careers and then have been great stewards of the game. And so every game is massive. This will be the biggest game we played all season long, and that'll never change. We honor this game, and it's going to be incredibly competitive and probably salty and combative and everything that we want out of basketball.
Are you familiar with Mo Williams? Have you met him? Are you all friends or anything?
We've crossed paths. We're not boys, but I expect we'll know each other a little bit better after tomorrow night. And he's clearly, just an unbelievable ambassador of the game of basketball, an unbelievable pro, terrific career, and he is going to continue to do great things in coaching.
Mark, are you impressed with how this team so far through 4 games has attacked everything despite, it doesn't matter what logo is on the other team's chest, they're coming out to win the game, and it seems like they're doing a really good job. Is that mentality something that's really impressed you of this group?
Yeah, I think our guys want to get better. We want to get better. There's these multiple races going on all at the same time, right? You're trying to win a game, and that's massively important. Win a game, and at the same time, you're trying to get better. We'd like to become something. If we're not a better team in a month than we are today, then we're not getting the job done, right? And so I think our guys have grasped that, and I think they're super hungry and they're really curious and humble. Right? We talk about that all the time, and are just eager to get better. That doesn't guarantee perfection. It doesn't guarantee positive outcomes all the time, but I think it does sign you up for a really good trajectory where you kind of roll into every day in practice. Like today in practice, I think our guys are walking to practice like, okay, guys, we got to get better. And we're going to roll this game tomorrow knowing that we have to find a way to win the game because that's our job, and then we have to get better, right? Both those things have to happen. And I think when you hold that focus with you, it gives you a chance to become something, and our guys want to become something.
Jackson and Kobe, going back to the summer, have talked about wanting to be better defenders over the course of the season. How much does it help that to be around guys like Lamont and Ortega in practice and sharing the court with them in games?
Yeah, it's pretty great because, both those guys want to become better defenders and they want to become better offensive players. So one of the reasons Jax was really excited to come here was because Lamont and Ortega were here, and he was like, I want to go against those guys every day and figure out, going against those guys, he's not going to find much better backcourt defenders in the NBA than he's seen in those 2 guys right now. Certainly nobody that's going to startle him saying, wow, I've never faced this before. These are 2 elite, physical, capable, incredible defensive players. And so getting to go against them offensively every day is really special for both Jax and Kobe. And then for sure, when you do that, you get to pick up a few tricks. It's like, oh my gosh, he's doing this to me. as an offensive player, he's guarding me this way and I don't like it. Now I'm gonna try that also. I'm gonna try that on the defensive end and see if it pays off. And so that's the great thing about having terrific players. And it's one of the things that I think guys miss. One of the things that was such a beautiful experience for me playing here was I got so much better as a player. I improved so much more in practice than I did in games, because the truth is facing Walton McCartney and Antoine Walker was harder every day in practice than it was facing just about every frontline player in college, except for Marcus Camby. He was a problem.
Mark, out of curiosity, I think all the games you guys have played at Rupp this year, you've worn a suit. I think you went quarter zip for the Duke game.
Yeah.
So, is it going to be suit every home game, quarter zips for road games? Is it like a Coach Pitino thing? Like, just out of curiosity, like, how do you determine what you're going to wear for each
Well,
game?
I just can't, in a good conscience, walk in a Rupp in a 3/4 zip. It just doesn't. I just think to me that's a really sacred building. And there's nothing that feels right about it. And then on the road, it was long, tenuous negotiations with my staff. They're less inclined to be excited about a suit than I am. And so we kind of thought, we'll start this way, suit at home, honoring Rupp, 3/4 zip on the road. And then we had these neutral games. And so the original decision was that we would go suit neutral, because there's no way that Leanne is going to let me walk into Madison Square Garden in a 3/4 zip. That just ain't happening. It's the world's most famous arena. We love that place. We love that city. But Jay Hart, after the Duke win, he was like, Coach, I don't know, these 3/4 zips pretty good in this neutral, so now that's under consideration. But originally we made a deal. We'll do 3/4 zip in Atlanta, and then we'll do suit in Madison Square Garden. I don't know where that's going to end. That's in hands way more powerful decision making than my own. But we spent a lot of time. Trying to figure out what to wear. I mean, look at me right now.
Does Leanne pick the suit?
Leanne picks everything.
Are you a fan of the snow, Mark? I know you're not getting as much here as you were at your last stop.
Yeah, I mean, snow is like part of the season, right? I like all of the fall and the cold and the winter, because it just makes you know it's basketball.
Mark, speaking of habits, before the past game you played, or the week, you guys had 6 days off. That was the longest stretch that you had off at the time. Now you're on pretty short notice, having to play this game, not short notice, but short week,
Yeah.
playing this game tomorrow. What's the difference between a stretch of time, like 6 days in this program under your leadership, and then a short week like this?
Yeah, it was really nice. And we had a little 3-day window of 3 days of practice where we could really focus on us completely and try and expand some things that we were doing and challenge ourselves in different ways. Spend some time on special situations, spend some time on different looks offensively, spend some time on some different wrinkles defensively, some different punches. And then, once you're in the grind, it's pretty much really locked in on Jackson State. We'll spend all of our time today on Jackson State, as we did yesterday, and then with the Saturday, Monday, we'll spend all of our time preparing for Western Kentucky. And with those 2-day preps, it doesn't give you a lot of room to explore other things. Now, in every game prep, you're exploring new concepts, but it doesn't give you time to really just hammer away at them. Give yourself a 12-minute segment where you're just focused on a new concept as an install. Mostly it's shorter segments where you're really kind of laser focused on how you're trying to approach Jackson State right now.